Have Adidas, Kanye and the Yeezy line done it again? Have they redefined sneakers? Have they taken a segment of the sneaker industry and gone in a completely different direction away from what everybody else was doing, redefined a whole segment of the industry and gone in a unique direction that everybody's got to follow? Or is it just hype? The Adidas Yeezy Basketball Quantum has dropped in a very limited run this last weekend and will be dropping in a bigger run in the weeks to come. But is it just hype? Is it just Kanye and Yeezy hyping it up and doing it for the sales? Or does this sneaker stand a chance of redefining the basketball sneaker industry? This is the Tokyo About 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo About 23 Sneaker Channel. There's毎日 absolutely毎日 見てください. Every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today, we're looking at a sneaker that I've already looked at in a way. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to sling a link right up here, but these links are there for the entire video. So you don't actually have to go ahead and click on this until the end of the video, which is great for you guys because there'll be 5 of those links right there and you can choose which one you want to go for. And this one right here, doing, is a link to 5 predictions for the biggest Yeezys in the winter season. And in there, this Yeezy basketball sneaker was one of my predictions for the top 5 Yeezy sneakers in winter and spring 2020. Now, which of the 5, number 1 or number 5, I'm not going to tell you. You'd have to watch that video at the end of this video. But I have already looked at it very, very briefly. But now we've got official images. Now we've got talk of the drop coming on just the weekend gone, the All-Star weekend, but a bigger drop coming in the weeks to come. There's videos across social media and Twitter and things like that of these massive trucks driving around Chicago, giving away these Quantums all over the shop. The sneaker is hot. It's obviously hot. There's a ton of hype behind it. It's a Yeezy. Why wouldn't there be hype behind it? And talking of social media, Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me on both of those at Tokyo About 23, especially the Twitter. We're trying to get the Twitter off the ground. It's only a small Twitter account right now. So if you can get over there and support us at Tokyo About 23 at that Twitter account, I truly, truly appreciate it. Link down below if you need it from there, or you can just go ahead and search it on Twitter. But yeah, social media has been pushing these basketball Yeezy sneakers and those the drops, those guys driving around Chicago. It's kind of insane in a way, but that's typical Kanye, it's typical Yeezy. The hype's right there, but does the hype live up to the actual performance? That's the main question that you have to ask yourself with a basketball sneaker, because if the performance isn't there, there isn't any point in bringing out the sneaker. It's not a lifestyle sneaker, it's a basketball court sneaker, and it needs to have performance. And today, we're going to have a look at that sneaker, we're going to look at those official images and find out a little bit more about the sneaker, and then ask that question, is the performance there, and will these guys live up to their hype? So first things first, let's have a look at this sneaker from a sort of wide perspective, looking at the total upper. And my first instinct when I saw these guys was to think Yeezy 380 Alien. Dang, right there behind me there should be a picture of the Yeezy 380 Aliens. I think I did a review of them or another one. I know I did a review of a sort of brown one, so I'll put that link right here. Dong, you can see that link at the end of the video if you want to. Because I've already talked about the 380s, and that upper on these basketball Quantums surely looks like that. Now, I read online, somebody wrote, and I don't know who they are, but somebody wrote online that these guys, these basketball Quantums look like the new 700 V3s, the Adidas 700 V3s. I totally disagree with that. The new 700s, the V3s, have a cage that comes up out of the midsole and onto the upper, and underneath that cage, maybe it has the same upper material as these basketballs, but without that cage there, I don't think you can say that these guys look like the new 700 V3s, but what they definitely look like to me is the 380s that have dropped recently, and especially in this colorway, they look like the Aliens. Now, staying on that upper, you can't not talk about the banging, popping, smashing 3M that's on the side of these guys. Now, there are 2 places on the side of these basketball Quantums where you're going to find that 3M. So if I show you a picture right now, I think we'll start with the upper and that zigzag effect. Dang, right there you can see the zigzag effect in the 3M that comes out in certain lighting, and it's really fire, but it's controversial, and we'll talk about why it's controversial when we look at the second 3M place on there. So you've got the upper, and then when you shine the 3M, well, you shine the light on it, the 3M comes out from beneath the upper. But then another place where it's a bit more prominent to me is on the heel. And if you go back to the heel, you can see there's a sort of intersection where the, let's go with the top line, the heel and the upper sort of all meet, and they form a triangle that comes up out of the heel and out of the midsole, and that triangle itself is actually 3M. Again, you should be able to see that here, ding, that 3M effect right there. Now, the controversy is that for basketball court-worn sneakers, they shouldn't have 3M on them, which makes sense because there's an awful lot of flash photography at a basketball game, and of course, the flash photography would set off the 3M. That would be distracting, and maybe take, you know, a basketball player takes his eyes off the ball for a millisecond, bang, they're dunked on. So it makes sense not to let basketball sneakers and basketball brands put 3M onto their sneakers, but here we are with that poppin' 3M. It's not even discreet or just a little piece of branding on the side. Poppin' 3M on the upper and also in that triangle towards the heel section there. So that raises the question whether or not these guys are going to ever make it to the court or whether they're just a kind of crossover lifestyle sneaker. So that's the 3M side, and that's the upper side. But staying on the upper, if we go towards the front of the sneaker and have a look at that toe box on there, here is a place that kind of has a slight echo of the 700s. And you look, it's a bit out of place to me. I'm not a huge fan of this point on the toe box where you can see that kind of pronged effect. I think it's in suede coming from the toe roll back into the upper of the sneaker, and that definitely, to me, looks a little bit like a 700, and it kind of it's a little bit out of place. I'm sure it's there for durability. I'm sure it's there to keep the sneaker from falling apart, especially with basketball players. They do put a lot of pressure on the toes of their sneakers, so I get that from that point of view. But just, I don't know, because the material's in opposition to the other materials in the upper, and the color doesn't really fit in all that well with that sort of snow, I'm not going to say leopard, snow tiger, maybe snow tiger effect in the upper there. It's a little bit, it stands out a little bit to me, and it's not my favorite feature on the sneaker. Now going upside down, if we have a look at the outsole, it's one of the major talking points of the developments in the Yeezys. I'm really glad that Yeezys have not gone down an overly colourful line. Now we're going to look at a few Yeezys this week. Number one, on Sunday in hand, we'll be looking at not a Yeezy, but the sample for the 4D printed Future Craft Adidas sneakers, which was super futuristic and out of this world. Now, every Sunday, a guy called Shoe Butter comes to the channel with sneakers in hand, some of the rarest sneakers in the world. And this Sunday, he's going to be bringing me that 4D printed midsole sample, so definitely stick around for that. But what he's also done before is he brought me some samples of Yeezys, and I'm going to put a link to that here. Now, I know you're going to be tempted to go to this link immediately because you're going to be like, 350 V2 samples, and they are fire. They are absolutely fire. But don't follow this link. You can catch this link at the end of the video because, like I said, all 5 of the links will be there. So dang, there's a link to those 350 V2 samples, and they are absolutely cracking. Really, really fire. So that's 2 really major videos on my channel, the 4D samples coming on Sunday, and then the 350 V2 samples from a couple of weeks ago. Every Sunday I get these sneakers in hand from Shoe Butter. I totally appreciate that. But when we're looking at these basketball sneakers and the outsole, that's where I was going with this, is the outsole and the midsole section on there. It was a major departure with the 380s, that the midsole, and especially the sort of, it's not a cage, I don't want to call it a cage, but it's the case that wraps around the outsole. It's almost like not the outsole, the midsole, it's almost like the outsole wraps up around the midsole, which is unusual in a sneaker. Usually you'd see the midsole and then the outsole would just be on the bottom, but in the case of Yeezys, they always wrap it up around. You have that outsole kind of wrapping up onto the midsole, which is not unusual and has been the case in most, if not all, Yeezys so far. But what is unusual since the 380s dropped, and now we see it again with these basketballs, is that wraparound is smooth and it's a sort of consistent, sleek effect, which is a departure, a change from what's come before from the Yeezy line. Previous Yeezy sneakers have had a sort of ridged or I don't know how to explain it, like a bumpy effect. Maybe that's the best way to put it. It's a bumpy effect along the length of the midsole. But in the case of the 380s I talked about before, and in the case of these guys right here, you can see it is smooth all the way across. Now, when you do flip them upside down and have a look at the bottom of them, you can see that kind of standard window that looks through to the midsole. But what I haven't been able to find so far is any discussion of whether that midsole is Boost or not. I'm guessing it's not. I would assume that Boost is not a good material to play basketball in because Boost has an awful lot of lateral movement and it's very soft, very spongy, very responsive, very comfortable. I love Boost. In fact, I'm wearing a pair of NMD R1s right now which have a Boost midsole on them, and I do like my Boost sneakers, but they give an awful lot of lateral movement, Boost sneakers, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was not something that you want on a basketball court, because you'd end up with a lot of lateral movement on your ankle, and that's not a good thing because you end up spraining or twisting your ankle. So I'm assuming it's not a Boost midsole, but I don't know for sure. So if you do know for sure, please let me know in the comments down below and tell me how that's going. So that's the overall look at the sneaker itself, from top to bottom, front to back, the whole thing, especially those 3M popping features on there, which are kind of exciting to me. I did read that these guys are going to drop in two different ways, one streetwear and one for the courts. And I think what we're looking at here is the streetwear one because of that 3M branding on the side. But speaking of that, we have to ask the question about performance, and that's where we're going with this. Is the sneaker going to have the performance? If it has the performance, then yes, Yeezy and Adidas are going to cut a massive segue right through the middle of the basketball business and the basketball world, and they're just going to go right to the center of it. And of course, that's a question for the Jordan line because that's the major player in the sneakers in the basketball sneakers world right now. Well, right now it has been for the last 35 years. But this sneaker could very well cut a massive line right through the middle of all of that if the performance is there. And that's the thing that we're going to have to look out for over the next few weeks as we look towards a larger and a broader release of these Adidas Yeezy Basketball Quantums. And for some reason it's they're taking out vowels these days at the Yeezy line. I remember they did it with the Terraforms, and we didn't know if they were True Form or Terraforms earlier in this year, which reminds me that I'll be talking about two Yeezys tomorrow and the day after, because there's a couple of region specific Yeezys dropping real soon, 350 V2s. So this week at the channel, it's an awful lot of Adidas. We've got these basketball guys today, Yeezy 350 V2s tomorrow, and also the day after that. And then on Sunday, you've got that 4D printed midsole sample, one of the OG 4D printed midsoles guys, which is an absolute rare, cracking sneaker, and it's great that Shoe Butter brings that to us for us to have a look at the channel. For now, though, it's time for me to sign off. As I usually do at the end of my videos, I like to put up a playlist to those rare sneakers. So doing, there's a playlist to those rare sneakers, and that'll be make it easier for you to check out any of those links that you want to check out. Go ahead, choose a link from up there and go and have a look at something interesting on there if you're interested in any of those rare sneakers. Great videos, really, really cool, well worth looking at, especially those samples. The 350 V2 samples are absolutely fire, really, really well worth a look. So that's pretty much it for today. Like I said at the start of this video, please make sure that you hit up the Twitter account, TokyoButter23. We're trying to grow that. My Instagram account is fairly healthy and fairly large, but my Twitter, I've never been able to get Twitter off the ground. Never really understood it very well. If you've got advice for what to do on Twitter to make it grow, please let me know. But what you can do to definitely make it grow is head on over there. There's a link in the description down below, or you can just search Twitter for TokyoButter23 to find that Twitter account, and supporting that will support the channel. We'd appreciate it very, very much. For now, though, time for me to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out my content. But as I do this every single day of the week, and I have done it every single day of the week for more than 400 days now, non-stop, haven't missed a single day, and I'm going to keep on trucking on and keep on doing that. And because I do it every single day, that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.